Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here. We'll give it a minute or two for everyone to join, but while we all wait, we'd love for you to hop in the chat and let us know where you're joining from and maybe even something you're hoping to get out of this webinar today, since it's a little different from our typical style and we want it to be super interactive with everyone. So if you could share that, that'll help us in this hour. Yeah, so feel free to I should have just opened it up. So yeah, feel free to drop in the chat where you're joining from and what you're hoping to get out of the hour today. Yeah, and I should say I'm joining from chilly Nashville, Tennessee today, and excited to have everyone with us. We'll get started on some housekeeping and then we'll open it up. So welcome. If this is your first VMUG event, we're glad you're here. My name's Erica. I'm on the content and communities teams here at VMUG and grateful to be with you today. VMUG or VMware User Group is an independent global customer-led organization created to maximize members' use of VMware partner solutions through knowledge sharing, training, collaboration, and events. We want everyone to make sure you get connected to a local VMUG community near you. You can do this at my.vmug.com and see the communities available. Please use the Q&A function for questions today. We can also answer them live. This one's a little different from our normal, so feel free to use the raise hand function and we can take you off mute. You can come camera on and ask questions. We can have an open dialogue. And then this session is being recorded and the recording will be distributed in a wrap-up email as well as posted to our YouTube. This is where you can find all future VMUG webcasts. It's still early in the year, so we're building these out, but that QR code gets you there. You can also find that at my.vmug.com/events. And then we have a half-day program coming up, February 26th. You'll find that. I can drop the registration link in the chat for this one. But it's a half-day program about Kubernetes, so really dives deeper than our typical content. And we're excited to bring you to this. And this will be quarterly, so we'll have them 4 times this year. And this will be our first one, which is kind of an intro and a deeper dive into Kubernetes. We know that this is new content for a lot of our folks, so glad to bring it to you. And then VMUG's going on the road. So we will be having 5 events this year, three countries, 2 continents. We'll be in Europe starting in March, and then North America in April, May, June, and October. You will notice a gap because we will be at Explore this year, but you can find all of the information for this. I'll drop it in the chat, but if you look up VMUG Connect, hopefully you'll register for one near you. Oh, went ahead too far. So I'll take this down. And I wanted to introduce our speaker today. He is none other than the VMUG Vice President, Justin Sider, and we're grateful to have you here today, Justin.
Hi, thanks for having me. Wait,
Yeah,
am I muted? No, I'm not. Good.
no,
Whew.
you're good. You're good. So yeah,
These
we're ready
webinars
to
are
roll.
new, so it's all different. Cool. Yeah, I'm the Chief Information Officer of Belay Technologies. I am the Vice President for VMUG. I attend a lot of community events. I get to talk to a lot of people. Ever since they started requiring the certification for you to get your licensing through Advantage, I've been talking with all the members that have been going through this process, and would love to just answer questions, have conversation around, what they've done to pass, how we can help you pass so that you can get access to your home lab bits. And we're here to kind of answer the questions and give you some information. So please use the chat. I don't know. I'm seeing different things about whether the Quake Q&A is working or chat's working, but it seems like everything's working. So first, we'll kick it off. Certifications for security professionals are I assume this is VMware specific, right? So obviously, when I think of security outside of VMware, I think of 2 things: Security Plus, CISSP, and now CompTIA also has a CASP, which is a step up from Security Plus. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but there's an X at the end. As far as VMware specific items go, I am not up to speed on that, I'm actually going to click your link and see what they have here. Typically, we've been focusing on the architect and the administrator for the VCPs, um, but it looks like you found your certification you're looking for. So, private cloud security administrator. Um, it's interesting that that one's 75 questions. How many questions was the architect exam? So I know they bumped the administrator down to uh, 60 questions. Does anybody know what the architect number was? Also 60. Interesting. So for security, you've got a couple more questions to answer there. That's excellent. And I do believe in the test, they'll actually throw in some questions that don't count. So I don't know if that adds to the 60 or whether that's included in the 60. So that's always an interesting kind of concept there. So as far as security and VMware specific, the one that you put in there is probably the only one that I'm aware of. Looking through the list on the previous page, I don't see any other ones unless you want to start talking about network specific, and that would be a VCAP when you start talking about layering on NSX and diving deeper into the network security. Let's see, go back to some of my notes. Just to recap some things that have been going on over the past couple years. Historically, training was required in order for you to sit for the exam. That is no longer the case. So we are now training course free, and our goal is to provide you as much information as you can so that you don't have to pay several $1,000s to sit for a course in order to get the exam pass. Right now, the cost is $250 for that. If you're a VMUG Advantage member, you get a discount. I believe it's sitting at $125. So right now you get half off. And then there's additional programs where you can participate and potentially get a free exam cert sit. Lots of words. So Connect, I believe we're including a full sit for that. Um,
For Advantage members, yes.
for
And
Advantage
then
members.
for
So
non-Advantage
Advantage,
members,
and you buy a Connect Pass, you will get a free certification sit, and that is good for the architect or the administrator, not both.
yep. And then also with the Connect, and I saw Dave put that link in the chat. Thank you very much. With that as well, if you're going to be coming up on your Advantage renewal, you can buy the Connect Plus Advantage Pass, even if you already have Advantage, and it will add on 12 months to your Advantage. So that can be a really great deal for those who are about to come up on their Advantage membership and want to renew. But we'll talk about that more at the end of my housekeeping, as you all saw on my slides. But just know that you can either purchase the Connect Pass as an Advantage member, or you can buy the Advantage Plus Connect, even if you're already an Advantage member, to extend your Advantage.
Perfect. All right. So jumping back to the test a little bit. So one thing that I have from some experience, um, the format of these tests are multiple choice, multiple select, and then some sequence knowledge. And you have to get the entire question right in order for um, you to get the question right. So you want to pay special attention during the multi-select and those sequence questions to ensure you get a better passing score. And then watching for specifics, so things like VCF for the first workload domain requires NSX. So the feedback that I've been getting from everyone who has taken the test, whether they pass, whether they fail, is that every question is pretty fair. So some of it gets into some of the minutiae, some of the details of the VCF implementation, but there's no trick questions. It's really just paying attention and making sure that uh, you're getting to the details that they want you to understand. And then also making sure you flag and you can review the questions. So if you're going through your first pass, answer the questions that you absolutely know. You can flag those questions that you don't know, and then come back to them at the end. They give you, I think probably a significant amount of time for the questions that they have. So it's roughly 90 minutes you get for the test, 60 questions. So about a minute and a half to 2 minutes per question. So for the ones that you absolutely know, check them off, mark them as complete, and then move on to those ones that you have a little bit more thinking to do. Um, And then over the past 2 years, we've been looking at the 5.2 exam and then the 9.0 exam. Do we have anybody on the call today that has passed both or taken both? And then trying to understand maybe what some of those differences might be. I know for me, the biggest one was going to be the name changes. So ARIA went away, and now everything is VCF automation. So the language between the two tests is going to be different. All right, you are awesome at answering questions already. Cool, thanks, Sean. Yeah, and that's mainly like the ARIA and the automation changes, I believe, from a name change perspective. It's just getting used to those changes.
We have a question about, are there any practiced tests available on Broadcom/VMware?
I do not believe that Broadcom provides any practice uh, tests. What you can do, so two different things. I will post in the exam, let's see, the objectives. So I will give you the objectives exam guide for, so that is the VCF architect, and then I think I have the admin one here. So these are the exam guides. From a training perspective, unfortunately, you have to have a VCF subscription, and then you can have access to all of the VCF training guides through the Broadcom portal. From a third-party perspective, there's definitely been some things out there, maybe on Reddit or some other websites where you can potentially get some practice questions and answers. I can't speak to the validity of whether those questions are correct or not correct, but I've heard that they can be used to help you pass the test. Another thing that would be helpful is VMware Code put out a YouTube series. Let me see if I can find that link. And this was for the 5.2. And I think if you can kind of make the jump with the language changes and understand the difference between ARIA and VCF automation, watch the 6 hours of videos. It'll give you a really good background on passing that 5.2 exam. And I think you can apply all of those things that you learned and pass the 9.0 exam.
I'm going to bring Dave on as well. He's raised his hand. So Dave Bradley, I think you should be able to unmute if you'd like.
We're getting closer.
Hey, now I'm here.
There we
That
go.
took an exceptionally long time. Yeah, I was going to bring up the whole VMware code thing, and I think I was trying to post a link to it. Um, that should take you to the code stuff that they did for the 5.2 version, which, like you said, Justin, if you can get over the name changes and the differences of names and make yourself a little answer key for that, they are helpful. Um, Unofficially, when I was studying, there are, I hate to say it, but there are the VC, like the dump sites where you can buy the test or whatnot. Some of those do have a free, I don't know, 15, 20 questions that may or may not be on there, but it kind of gives you what the layout's going to look like. Those are kind of helpful, but take those with the grain of salt. Sometimes they're not always the correct answers that they show on there, I learned in the past.
Yeah, I do. To caution that, right? When you get a dump of the questions, you have to keep in mind you might get 1 to 200 questions. You're only going to be asked 60 of them.
Yeah.
So, to memorize or to understand all of that data and just to be asked 60 questions, is it better to just focus on kind of the buzzword bingo and understand the the higher level objectives that are in the exam guides, or to memorize questions and answers that may or may not pop up on your test. So I'd like to think that we're trying to pass the test not just for a check mark, but we do
Yeah.
want to understand the content we're taking in.
Yeah. And really, if you're sitting there just memorizing questions and answers, is it really going to help you in the long run? Probably not. It's more the hands-on doing and the experience from playing around with it. And I know that is kind of a catch 22 with having to pass the VCP to get your licenses these days. But watch the YouTube series from Code. It was really good. They talk a lot about how to get through it and what you need to know and focus on the core competencies. One thing I did notice taking the admin test was the questions aren't as deep as the old test used to be, I'd say. It it's a little wider breadth because there are a lot more applications and things that are pulled into VCF now, but you're not getting as deep into some of the stuff as you would in the past for the admin certs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Back in the day, the VCPs were very specific on vCenter and ESXi configuration maximums or limits. And now, they've went from basically two products to, 10 products. So you have to know a lot more about, a different range of products. So I think it does make it a little bit more difficult, especially for some of us older folks who have been around the vSphere environment for quite a while and now they're bolting on all these new things that maybe we may or may not use on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of an interesting concept. Dave, have you deployed VCF?
No, that is coming up very soon. I'm actually waiting for my new licenses because all my licenses expire tomorrow in my environment. So woohoo.
That's exciting.
Oh yeah, not stressful at all and hasn't kept me awake for the last 2 weeks while we deal with all this. But no, we'll be doing the whole VCF deployment starting next month. So I am looking forward to it. I think we're working with an outside partner for it, so we're assuming things should go really smooth with it. Um, I totally lost my other train of thought, so I'll have something to add in there as soon as I remember what it was.
We do have a question about certification renewal. Do you guys know about that process? Can you explain the renewal certification for those of us that obtained our certification during VMUG Connect last year in St. Louis? What is required?
That's like a Matt Helsteb question because I
Okay.
think he's gone through it so far, but and I might be wrong, but I think from what he said was it's like a really short 20 question test you have to answer to keep up with things that even though your licenses are good for 3 years from Broadcom, but you have to do that once a year, I think. But he
Yeah,
said it
that'll
was,
be inside the portal.
yeah,
So that's not, you don't have to go to Pearson VUE and sit for another test at this point. You go in for a yearly renewal, answer the questions on the Broadcom. What I don't know is, what if you get them wrong?
yeah.
I
I'm
don't, I
not
don't
sure
have
what
those
happens with that
answers.
either.
We
Oh,
will note that and make sure to have that answer the next one. So, thank you guys.
the one thing I was going to say was the blueprint of the exam that Broadcom has up on their site is really good to look at. I don't know if we talked about that enough, but it does basically lay out everything that could be on the exam. So you kind of know looking through that what you need to study and what you didn't need to study. Personally, I haven't done vSAN stuff, so I made sure to spend a little extra time looking over vSAN just so I could have a better understanding of it when it came to the certification test.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So when we had our webinar last year, we talked about do you really focus in on the things that you know, or do you? So those guides are. So here's the one for the administrator, and these are direct from the. Sorry, I'll jump back to what I was saying in a minute. The blueprints, the exam guides are on the Broadcom. I want to call them VMware still site. So if you go direct to the VMware certification page, you can browse any of their certifications and get their guides from this top level. So you just expand it down. So the first link I have is the specific VCF administrator. Or no, I did foundation. I may have clicked the wrong one. No, that's the right one. And then, so you can, yeah, we're just posting the same links over and over. It's fun.
The one I threw out there will like directly download the PDF file for you, which I just
Yeah,
found.
there's a bunch of them. You're right. I did foundation, not cloud foundation. So sorry about that. Um,
Oh, yeah.
so back to what I was saying, one of the questions we had asked in our last webinar was, should you, focus on getting deeper knowledge of the things you already know, or should you focus on the things you don't know? And I think out of that webinar, we basically decided what what Dave just said, which is you need to focus on the things you don't know. Back in the day when it was only two product lines, I think you could go a little bit deeper in one or the other and probably get a passing score. Now you really do need to know you need to know enough about the full product suite in order to pass the test. And then in order to do that, hands-on labs is probably another great example of a place to go to get information. So um, I'll post in the catalog for hands-on labs, and then two of them that people are recommending, I will post in as well. So
Yeah,
we're going to
that
be
was
pretty happy
handy,
today.
especially if you haven't gotten a lot of hands-on time with things. And the nice thing with the hands-on labs that I think a lot of people forget about is you don't have to follow the exam guide. You can get in there and try to break it and fix it. And if you screw it up too bad, just end your lab and start it up again. But you don't necessarily have to stick to what the syllabus for that lab you do is because you do have full control over most of the environment. So go wild, go nuts, try what you can in there. And I know there's some guardrails to keep you from doing some things, but for the most part, just kind of play with it and see what you can do. Uh, yes, I think the hands-on are up to date. I know they release new ones after every Explorer. They kind of use the Explorers every year to test some of the new ones they developed, and then like a month or so after they release them out, I believe.
Yeah, so the 9.0 labs did come out right before Explorer last year, so there are a lot of, and they almost revamped their entire library of hands-on labs for 9.0. And then for retaking, so in order to register, you'll need a company email. They don't allow Gmail or Yahoo anymore. Once you register, you'll get access to their full library of hands-on labs. Like Dave said, you go in, they set up a nested environment for you inside of whatever their infrastructure is. And you wait 30, 40 seconds, maybe it's a minute, minute and a half. I don't remember how long it is. Uh, that environment will be stood up for you, and it basically walks you through in a classroom style environment. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll have instructions on what to do every single way, every step of the way. You can exit at any time. When you exit, it blows away that environment. So you only get the environment for about an hour and a half. You can extend it, I think, for a half hour, an hour, up to a maximum of maybe three. Um, but you literally just close it out and then come right back in. So there's no limit on the number of times you can take a hands-on lab. Uh, as Dave said, you can step out at any time and restart it. So there's not really retaking. It's just you're just starting fresh right over again. I don't know if that helps.
I promoted someone else who said in the chat that they're a knight, so hopefully they can also help answer some questions with this as well. We had one question that came in about the VCP data center virtualization exam, and if you all felt that that was still worthy to take, or if they should take a newer one.
I guess it kind of depends on what your goal is. If your organization is not planning to go up to VCF, that could be fine for you. If you want to get the cert and then get the licenses for your lab, then I wouldn't take that one anymore. Um, it's kind of the old style that's just focused on the individual components. And since Broadcom is pushing VCF and VBF, I think the VCP admin cert is probably the better option to start with, and then look at the architect after that. And then I do believe they just released some advanced ones out there as well now.
Yeah. So there was another question about whether or not the 5.2 was being offered. I don't see the 5.2 as an option on their certification webpage anymore. So I do think that they've retired 5.2. I don't know that I want to be held accountable for that exactly, but I think that uh, I think anyone who's active should probably be looking at 9. So they're going to be looking to sunset all of the 8.0 stuff and get off 5.2. Um, pretty quickly. They want to move everybody to 9 as fast as possible. So I don't know that if I was you, I would spend any time looking at 5.2. Um, and I know that sounds terrible because we were saying look at the 5.2 YouTube track, but I think that's going to give you a good baseline of the information that's on the test. And then reviewing the exam guide, going to hands-on labs will get you more familiar with 9.
We did have one housekeeping question about how to access the 50% off for VMUG certification. So if you are a VMUG Advantage member, you get 50% off a certification. This is outside of any of our programming, so that is included if you're coming on site to connect. But if you're not and you're a VMUG Advantage member, you can just email advantage@vmug.com with the certification you're wanting to take, and they will issue that voucher to you. And I believe it's for all certifications, but specifically, and if you want the bits, it needs to be the VCF one, I believe. So, but advantage@vmug.com will be able to answer all of those questions.
which is great because I always forget we get a 50% off.
Got to save
And
it
it's
where you
per
can.
renewal year. So if your renewal is about to come up, you can, cash that in for this season, and then when you renew again, you can get another voucher. So it's per renewal season. We want to make sure we get folks certified. And let us know after with how it went so we can add you to things like this in the future.
And just to throw it out there, don't feel bad if you don't pass the first time. I have failed both of the architect tests the first time I took them. I also didn't study for either of them and just kind of YOLO'd it with a free sit at one of the VMUG Connects last year. Um, but it also helps you study what you don't know then. So I think both of them I was only 3 or 4 questions away from passing. So eventually I'll study that what I missed and go back and take them sometime this year. I think a lot of the VMUG leaders, we did this at Explore last year as well. And it was what 60-40 pass fail rate for most of us, I think, because half of us just went and YOLO'd it. And then some people also decided to go become hermits and just hide in their room all night and study the actual technical manual to then go and pass.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, Douglas, you asked a question about what's going to take place at Connect. So, what I can tell you is uh, kind of what Dave hinted at in uh, St. Louis. We the VMUG team set up a cert sit with VMware participating. So, there was a room, and you would go online to Pearson View. There would be a special location that you signed up for to sit for that test. You scheduled it, and then during the 3 days of Connect, you would just walk in during your scheduled time, sit down. All the room was set up with their keyboards and thin clients. You sat down and just sat there and took the test. Just a regular proctored test like any other certification.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the nice thing is we had the same Broadcom / Pearson View person at the St. Louis Connect who was also at Explore last year. And she actually remembered a bunch of us. Kind of fun.
Yep, so we're still finalizing that exact footprint, but it will come with a free certification sit. And I know how it worked at Explore at least, was that it was kind of a window in time you could take it. So if it was more convenient to take it on site, great. If you'd rather do it before or after, also great. So it'll come with that, and we'll have more details for that coming.
Did we answer your question there, Doug? If you got anything else, throw it in the chat. Remotely, I think that's all the Pearson View stuff. It's all the testing is through Pearson View, so I know for a while they had that remote option. I think it's still out there, but it involves like you have to have a webcam, you have to have a certain space,
Yeah,
they have to examine your space.
it was available last time, a couple weeks ago when I took the architect exam. The remote, like you said, they're very strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Um,
nothing on your desk.
yeah, they make you
You
turn,
have to
they
put
make you
like
turn the camera around, show them your desk. There can't be anything within reach that you can reach that might,
Yeah.
have, any kind of cheat on it or whatever. But, I remember I took one a year or so ago at my office when I was still in the office, and I had to actually go to a meeting room. They wouldn't let me do it even in my office. I had to actually pick up my laptop and go to a meeting room and show them that I was in the meeting room. And the other thing that they really got me on, and for me, when I'm taking the test, I kind of read the question a little bit out loud, just kind of under my breath, kind of mumble the question, just kind of makes me concentrate. I don't know why. And I was sitting there just kind of reading the question, looking at the camera, reading the question out loud, real low. And the guy says, no talking, no talking, stop talking. I'm like, why? Well, I think they think you might have a recording device and you're reading the question out loud. So that way somebody else could listen to the recording later. So yeah, that, and I had to close the door and I had to have the door. So it's funny. I was in the meeting room and the door was to the side of me, and they made me turn around so they could see the door in the camera, so nobody could actually walk in and say something to me. I mean, it was very strict.
Yeah. I think I've talked to somebody who basically said I took my laptop and went and literally sat in my bathroom
Yeah.
and they got to watch me sitting on my toilet taking the test because it was the only space that I could find in my house that would meet their requirements. So
Right. Yeah.
When I took Security Plus a couple years ago, it was during COVID times, and that was the only way you could take a proctored exam. And I remember I had it. I was living in Maryland at the time, and my office was in my bedroom, and I was just waiting for my kids to walk in while I was in the middle of taking this test. I was like, because at that point you like it's an automatic fail, right? If somebody walks in the
Yeah.
room, you're done. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, if my kids ruin this for me, I'm gonna be so mad.
you're
Because
going to be grounded for life.
I've taken so many tests, and that was the only online one I've ever taken. And I said, I'm not going to take another one because now I work from home. So I mean, I got so much stuff around me that, like
Yeah.
you said, I'd have to go into the bathroom or something. I don't know where I would go to take a test now with all their restrictions.
Yeah. I mean,
Luckily, I got a lot of colleges around me. So I got like 3 or 4 colleges that allow take the test there.
yeah, I was going to say Pearson VUE does have a lot of locations. I know community colleges, most of them that I know of, all have a Pearson VUE area or some sort of agreement with them to take the test there. So um, the harder part is finding open time slots at the community colleges, I think. But I'm in the western Chicago suburbs, and I think I know of at least a dozen different testing locations around here. So there are quite a few.
Yeah.
all right, so there's a question that says, so what is recommended for the exam? Can you be a little bit more specific? Are you talking about the architect exam? And then are you asking our recommendations on what kind of path we would take to pass? I want to make sure we're addressing what you're looking for.
We had one question that was, what is recommended for small business owners with minimum 5 hosts, vCenter, vSAN environment, VVF or VCF?
Yeah, I saw that
Probably
one too.
VVF, I'd
It
say.
it all depends on what they want.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
too.
do they want NSX? VVF doesn't come with NSX, Are they looking to do NSX? Are they doing provider portal tenants, creating namespaces, things like that? Do they want to do some of that all app type thing, that's coming down the line, or they just want to do a base ESX vCenter type thing? So if you're just going to do a base environment, not want NSX, not want containerization, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, the VVF would be the way what you'd want to go with.
Yeah, I think to build on that, so we have a person who's so for the people that are watching us go, we have someone who's commenting just to the hosts and panelists. So as we're answering and talking, that's why we seem kind of random. So they're kind of asking some different questions about where to take the exam, what's recommended, and also ask a question about VVF or VCF. So um, we'll certainly give our 2 cents. You so you're saying they want to keep everything simple in their environment, but the question that I think Michael and Dave were trying to hint at is simple doesn't mean you're meeting their requirements. So I would drive for requirements and ask them, do they require Kubernetes? Do they require virtualized networking, what's their amount of security that they need to implement in their environment, before I would answer and say, oh, you should do VVF or VCF. If Matt Helpstab was here, he would say, well, you might as well go VCF because you're probably going to get a better price on VCF than you would for VVF.
Yeah, yeah. And that goes to the next question that he had about VVF going away. There's been those rumors for a while now.
Yeah, it seems like
They're
it changes constantly. Some people
yeah,
say, well, no, if I want VVF, they were going to charge me twice as much to just buy VCF, and then I get less. So we just went VCF. The nice
yeah,
thing too is you don't have to install every single component of VCF to make it work. There's the bare minimum requirements that you have to have out there, but
right,
you don't have to fully utilize everything.
right.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
you can do the simple deployment and just do the basics of everything. And you don't even have to install certain components, like you said, Dave.
yeah,
You can kind of customize it a little bit, but I mean, it'll install the base of, NSX would be installed, but you don't really have to use NSX. It's
yeah,
just
it can just
part of
kind of
it.
sit there and
Yeah.
be a flow through or pass through, basically.
Right.
Well,
Same way
you
with
can install
same way with
NSX and still
Kubernetes,
use
right?
native
You don't even
distributed
have
port
to
groups.
you don't have to enable Kubernetes when you install VCF. It's just something you can plug in later and turn on later after the fact. You could do a VM only environment, not use the all apps option. But yeah, like you said, Justin, I mean, it's going to be up to what their customers wanting to do, even though they might not be using it now. If you install VVF now and not have NSX and not have Kubernetes, and then say a year down the road, now they come back and say, you know what, we want to look into doing this Kubernetes thing. And then you're going to be like, well, we only installed VVF. So,
Yeah. I mean, it'll come down to cost too, and working with Broadcom to see what you're paying for licensing and things like that. So it's figure out what you need and then kind of find a respectable partner you can work with.
This
we're
is a
part.
question that we got on the last one that I would love to hear you guys' voices on. Was where would a network engineer aspiring towards cloud networking or cloud network architect as a career goal begin gaining VMware certs if they want to focus on network security or virtualization?
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
also
that's
drop
great.
that in
And I
the
think it's
chat
in
because I know
line
it's a long
kind of
one.
what Luke had in the Q&A. So I think our general recommendation is going to be to start with your VCF administrator exam. And then now that we're a little bit further along, they have the VCAPs, which are going to be kind of like your second tier um, certification.
Yeah.
So here's a link to the networking VCAP. So it's going to be all 9.0 based. And this is kind of like the next step. And you can take this without the VCF one, I believe. So you don't have to necessarily take the administrator exam if you don't want to, and you can jump directly into this.
Yeah. And it's nice if see a network engineer wanting to learn virtualization. That's probably been one of my struggles over the years. Working for a partner and being a large partner was a lot of our network guys don't want to learn virtualization,
Yeah.
and so we've been deploying, VCF for years now, and there's a network problem. Goes to the network team and they just throw it over to us and say it's a virtualization problem. And I'm like, okay. And then 9 times out of 10, it turns out to be, a BGP not accepting a route or something, something simple. And it's like we've been trying to push them. You guys would learn it. It's not that hard, and they just refuse to learn it. But going back to the question, if you're a network engineer, I would recommend first, like he said, take the NSX study guide. There's some NSX hands-on labs you can do that kind of get you the basics and the core concepts of NSX that you could do, and that's all free. And that would get you started. And then from there, you can look at getting your VCP for networking and things like that going forward. If you've been in networking for a while and you understand Cisco or you understand any other networking, it's pretty much the same. Some of the terminology is a little changed different in VMware, but the core concepts of firewalling and NATing, BGP, all that stuff is exactly the same. You just got to figure out where to go and how to do it in NSX. You know, the interface is different.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. I mean, VCF now is a full software stack. It's a solution. It's not just installing a hypervisor and then installing a hypervisor manager
Yep.
vCenter. So, if you're on a team that's deploying VCF and you're the network guy, you do need to know
Yep.
how your physical infrastructure is going to interact with your virtual
Yep.
infrastructure and how to configure these items.
Yep. And
So
I've had
I
that talk
think,
with our networking guys where they've got a VRF, in their physical switch. They have a VRF and they set up BGP to talk to NSX. And then they're like, well, I don't know anything about that NSX. So it's got to be something on your side. And I said, it's just a VRF. We build a VRF, you build a VRF, and we set up BGP between the two. And he's like, it's just a VRF, just like we do in Cisco. And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's like until they get in there and start understanding that, they think NSX is some new thing they've never touched before. And it's once I show them how it works, they're like, well, yeah, you're right. It is. It's not really that much different than what we're doing now.
yeah.
I go in command line and show them how they can get route tables and how they can get ARP cache and all that stuff, just like they do in a physical switch.
Yeah, and I think again, jumping back, hands-on labs is a great place to get started to understand
Yes.
where all those knobs are, the switches, the things, the little light switches back and forth to be able to flip things on and off. It can be quite complicated, and it's only gotten more complicated over the years, from the early versions of NSXV all the way through NSX node designation now. There's so much more capability and so many ways for things to go wrong. So, breaking somebody else's instance is way easier than breaking your own.
Yeah. And that's what you can do in the lab. You just spin up a lab and you can go in there and mess with it and break it and not worry about crashing or taking anybody down.
All right, where should you start? If I was going to start, I would, before paying any money to sit for an exam, I would start with, whoops, maybe I'm going to post a link in here. Uh, Taking a
I
look
mean,
at
I'd
this
start at the
blog
hands-on
post.
labs.
Yeah.
I would almost start with, a lot of people are doing the podcast and listening to things. So I would take a look at this administrator exam guide that VMware put out. It was Frankie that kind of put it all together. And I know it's a little over a year old. And I would start here and just listen to what other people have to say about getting ready for the exam, information that was on the 5.2 exam. And then I think I would jump into the hands-on labs while reading the exam guide for 9.0 administrator. Dave, do you agree with that? Or
Yeah, yeah, it was good. Frankie did a great job with this. I'm also looking at the question from like, if you're totally new to VMware, um, I'd go to Broadcom's site and get your free copy of Workstation, since that is free now, and you can start doing some desktop virtualization, maybe download the ESX ISO and try to do an install on that through it. There is some free stuff you can get from Broadcom to play with a little bit, just to kind of give you some exposure, but read the exam guide, the hands-on lab stuff. Um, yeah. I'm reading to us talking about for home lab stuff. Somebody brought up buy-in mini forms PCs, and yeah, I'm actually in one of those situations because I started building a new home lab out, and I got two of my mini forms nodes. And first time I bought memory was reasonable. Second time, little less reasonable, but now I think the DIMMs that I was purchasing are more than a whole new like A2 system. Um, William Lamb is a great resource for home lab stuff. I know a lot of us just have acquired old servers in general. Um, eBay, buy some old stuff that's
Yeah.
maybe 2 generations back, 3 generations back.
To this person's point, the memory, the price is high for memory, and yeah, I think that's unfortunately just the market right now, and that's
Yeah.
both at a consumer level and at an enterprise level. Memory is off the charts.
Yeah, I think my Cisco reps told me that by mid-February, there's a 100% price increase for DIMMs for Cisco UCS blades, or at
Yeah.
the end of February. So needless to say, we're scrambling to figure out what we're buying this year right now. Um, damn you,
I see
AI.
Matt. I see Matt's finally joined. I see him. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of AI and then also the U.S. government tariffs are impacting the
Yeah.
imports across the world. So I don't know how it's affecting other countries, but anything that is coming into the U.S. is going up in price. Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of the parts that my company buys, we buy from Dell. It's coming in from Mexico, and those prices, we've been told it's 50% or more increase on commodity hardware.
Yeah. I think we were trying to buy some blades last year through CDW, and we were going to try to save money and buy memory not directly from Cisco on those blades and buy it separately. But then it actually, CDW told us, like, hey, just give us a PO for how much you want to spend, and we'll see what we can get you for that, which was a very quick, no, that's not going to happen. But they couldn't guarantee us a price for more than 24 hours at one point.
And going back to what Dave and you guys, I mean, that's where you got to leverage a partner.
Yeah.
I'm not, I guess I should say I'm not tooting my horn, but I mean, I work for Lumen and we're a worldwide partner. We're one of the pinnacle partners, and we pull all of our stuff from inventory as much as we can. And then whenever we do buy new right now, I mean, we're talking, I think it's about at least a 12-week turnaround before we can get hardware from HP.
Yeah.
So if we have it in stock and something that will support the customer, then we would use it. But we have a pretty good stock of servers around the world because we also run our own data centers and stuff like that. So we're a service provider and a hosting provider too.
Matt, does that heat your house as well?
Probably it does. Helps out in those cold north winters that we have up here.
Well, Matt's got all that money to buy all that hardware.
We had a question on if anyone's taken the VCAP exam.
Yeah, I answered that one.
Okay.
I've taken them before. I had it in 6 or 7. I had the VCAP on network virtualization and deployment. It's changed over the years. The VCAPs used to be a live lab where they would basically stood you up a hands-on lab that was broke and would give you a scenario and you'd have to go in and fix it. And then I think it was like 10 questions or 10 issues you had to fix. And then when it was over, it took like 3 or 4 days for someone to evaluate the lab and come back and tell you if you passed or not. I think they've stopped that now. I think it's all just a 60-question test now. That's just kind of pretty in-depth questions. But I'm on my next on my list of stuff to do.
Hello
'Cause I
there.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Sorry, I got here late and I've been multitasking. What's the question again?
Early
Oh,
on, we had a question about what the renewals looking like for people that have passed the
Yeah,
VCF administrator, VCF architect.
sure. All right, so for the most part, renewal is every time you pass, you get 3 years from that point. So, like for me, I have the 5.2 admin. A year later, I got the 5.2 architect. That kind of restarts the clock for 3 years. Now, that said, there is plan. I think there's going to be a refresher exam that will be released after 3 years. They're still in the middle of developing it. Eric Nielsen is working on that along with the folks that handle the software entitlements that we get through VMUG Advantage. And I think that they're still working on that. But I'm not sure that after 3 full years of your last certification, if you're going to need another brand new certification set. Many people just will do that. Kind of back in the old days, DCV-5, remember there was the Delta exam that you could take to do the refresh when it was 2 years, but now it's 3 years.
Yeah.
And then
I
there's deltas for 6 and 6.5. And
yeah. I still have some of my cert metrics going back to still say never expire.
Mine do too. The ones that got on my 5.1 say never expire.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take them to the grave. I think there was some question about like something through the portal, right? So through the the Broadcom portal. So there's
something about licensing. You have to pass and answer questions for licensing. Is that what it was earlier? I thought that's what you were talking about.
You mean in the cert test? Licensing
No, like
questions?
in the license portal, didn't you have to do something because you were so early that you went through this renewal already with your personal licenses?
No, there was some
There's like
issues. I
20.
was pretty much, me and Dave Simpson were kind of the alpha test bunnies. So, but it was fine. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. I mean, the key is just making sure that your CertMetrics account and your VMUG Advantage account and your Broadcom account all are the same email. That's probably the most important piece.
Yeah.
I saw Tim's
I have that
message.
problem now. Sorry, with being a partner, my partner login is my work email, but all my VMUG stuff and everything's all with my personal email. So
My problem is that everything is my work email. So when I log into Broadcom now, I see my personal stuff and my work stuff, and I have to figure out how to get that all separated. So Erica, we're going to talk soon.
I tried that a while back years ago with VMUG, but I've changed companies 3 or 4 times. And so when I had it all with my work email and then I've changed companies, then have to go through the process of changing my email with VMUG and cert metrics and everything at that point.
All right, so we've had a couple questions pop in. So we had a question about holodeck. I do not have any information on holodeck. I've never used it or attempted to access it. Dave, Mike, or Matt, any insight on holodeck?
I've never used it. I've just always
no.
deployed using Cloud Builder on 5.2 and VCF installer on 9. And to be honest with you, the 9.0 deploy is becoming so much easier than the 5.2. I would recommend if you have the resources, don't do holodeck because part of the journey is actually the deployment. And you do not get that with holodeck because everything's API driven. And it's great if you just want to see the product and then be done with it. But if you want the full taste, I would recommend using VCF installer. That's just me.
Yeah.
And then Tim, you had a question about an entitlement for 12 months. Can you be a little bit
I
more
got
specific?
that. I know exactly what he's talking about. I might have seen his post on Reddit, perhaps. Or I don't know if he posted. There was someone I think that might have been on Reddit. So here's the thing. Unfortunately, there was some miscommunication as to what the entitlement was when you pass your VCP-VCF. That's VMware vSphere Foundation. There was something on the VMUG site saying that gives you access to VVS. And then in parentheses, VMware vSphere Foundation. VVS is actually standard. And so the nomenclature there was a little wrong. That I think has been fixed on the website. We do truly apologize for that. But yeah, it's 12 months for the VCP VVF. So that I know it's a little unfortunate, but that's kind of, I think that's the deal there.
So we do have a question about in vCenter, is vCenter ESX and vSAN version 8 automatically updated when you upgrade to 9?
So I can touch that quick. I actually did a blog series on a brownfield upgrade of vSphere 8 to VVF9. And part of the process is actually going through and doing a normal vCenter upgrade just like you normally would. That's actually one of the first things that you do. You can't go through the VCF installer and then import your vSphere 8 environment without already having upgraded your vCenter to 9. Now, you don't want to take a lot of time because you can't license just a vCenter 9 server. You need the operations appliance in
Right.
place to be able to license it.
Right. Because
Mhm.
if you wanted to import the version 8 and then upgrade to 9, the VCF installer, I believe, Matt, it'll install a new vCenter instance and then migrate all the data over to a new vCenter instance.
Yes. For
Yeah,
that's VCF.
VCF. Yeah, sorry.
Yep. Yeah. VVF, you have to do a lot of that yourself.
Right. Yeah, he didn't really specify VCF or
Yeah.
V.
Right. Yeah, he is vSphere and vCenter. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, so the VCF you can import your 8 environment into VCF and then do an upgrade from there, which would, like I said, it'll deploy a new vCenter instance and migrate the data over to it. And then it will and also do your ESX hosts and everything. It doesn't like, I guess, automatically get updated. You have to, there's still manual intervention there.
Yeah.
You know,
So the licenses change with 9. You
yes.
need with VCF 9, you don't import individual licenses now. You use ops, or formerly known as ARIA ops, to do your
VROPS.
license, yeah, VROPS, VCOPS,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call
VCF
it.
operations.
Yes. So that takes care of your licensing now. So it actually ties up to vcf.broadcom.com, to the VCF portal where the licenses are stored.
yeah.
Um, so you need to have ops running once you have version 9 of everything, because ops will be
And it
what
has to,
handles it.
and it has to either check in every 180 days or you have to manually go out and upload the
Yeah.
files every 180 days or it'll expire.
Yeah, there's a usage license that you pull
Yeah.
down and upload to the portal, or it can be automatic.
Yeah, they're moving
Automatic.
away from the idea of a license and they're more so calling it an entitlement.
Yes.
Fancy word. So you're now entitled to use the software. You're not licensing your individual hypervisors or product lines.
Right. And I'm not sure if anybody's said this, but when you pass your certification, you actually receive keys to 8 and an entitlement to 9.
Okay,
So
Matt,
that
we gotta
means,
talk. You need to show me how to get those 8 keys.
yeah, yeah, they're in the old area of your portal.
Yeah.
Oh.
And let us use your home lab too.
I mean, I have noticed I have my admin for 5 and my admin for 9 now, and I have keys. I got keys for both those tests actually. So instead of the 128 cores, I have 256 cores of entitlement.
Me too, but we shouldn't probably advertise that because I'm just waiting for it to go away.
Yeah, be sure it
I have
should.
I have 256 as well for 2 certs.
Yeah.
So I see the question about getting another license. You don't get another license. You can actually through your through the license portal, you can upgrade your license to VCF 9 from 8. You don't really have to go out there and buy another license key. They just changed the licensing to use the VCF operations to do the licensing and check in
Hmm.
180 days.
If you have vCenter 9, there's a place you can put legacy keys if you still have 8 hosts that you haven't fully upgraded.
Yeah,
So
for 8.
that
Yeah.
would still be your licensing center through vCenter if you have version 8 hosts and
Right.
keys that aren't expiring.
The VMware, they're trying to get rid of the thing they've been fighting for years of people using the same licenses in multiple locations.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could use the same license, but if it doesn't check in or you don't get a new key every 180 days, then basically it'll stop working after that.
I do want to be cognizant on time. So this has been a really great discussion. So thank you for everyone who is on. This was recorded, so we will be posting it. And again, there will be a quick survey, so you can take that when you close out of Zoom. I'm good to stay on if other folks are good for a minute or so. But if you have additional questions that you want for the next webcast, we'll be doing at least three of these and hopefully more throughout the year. But if you have additional questions, we'll be sending an email survey for you to provide feedback as we kind of build this program. So feel free to put those questions in there as well, and we'll be answering them in the February or March calls too. So I just wanted to thank Matt and Michael and Dave for hopping on and joining us, and then Justin for being our fearless leader here. We're really grateful. But yeah, we can stay on and answer more questions, but I just wanted to be mindful of time if folks did have to drop.
Yeah, you make a great point. This is really for all the people that are attending. So anything that you guys want to see, we want to make sure we're providing to you. I think this certification pass is one of the things that's kind of missing from the community right now. So whatever it takes to kind of rebuild that and get that back out to the community is what we're looking to put together.
And I'll make sure to pull all of the links that we dropped from this as the resources, and we'll make sure to put them in the YouTube description. So when you're catching it on the rewatch, or maybe you missed one and you knew it was there, we'll have it all organized for you there as well. And I did put up, Eric Nielsen joined us at the November Global Virtual event and did do a how-to on licenses for Advantage members that pass certification. So I did drop that YouTube link. I know it's a convoluted process going between our system and their system. So hopefully that clears some of the mud up. Um, but otherwise, we appreciate everyone's time today. And if there's any last minute questions, I'll give a space for that. But thank you for a really great discussion. I feel like we covered on things that only can be covered on a VMUG webcast.
Sounds good.
Okay. If nobody has anything else, thank you all so much. This was great, and we'll see you next month. Bye.
All right, bye now.